unless someone wants to be heard, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. For a
Application
period of 3 years, I'm sorry.
Application granted.
Next application number 2 of 2020, Jerry and Awilda Ferrara, to renew permit for two-family, family use only, residence AAA district, west side of Lincoln Boulevard, number 104, 134.9 feet, 93 feet north of Bridge Road, Hauppauge. When you get to the podium, your name and address for both of you, please.
Good evening.
Wilda Ferrara, 104 Lincoln Boulevard, Hauppauge, New York.
Thank you.
How are you tonight?
Okay.
Jerry Ferrara, 104 Lincoln Boulevard, Hauppauge, New York.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
You're here to renew permit two-family, family use only. Age is the criteria. It's been renewed a few times in the past. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant for a period of 3 years.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. See you in 3 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, our next application is number 668 of 2019, Julieta Duenas, to renew permit for two-family, family use only, Residence B District, northeast corner of Lake Drive, number 23 and Rosevale Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. Is there anyone here on this application? Second call, please, Mr. Chairman.
Second call.
Next application, number 3 of 2022, Michael Anderson. Permission to leave in-ground pool having a side yard of 17.5 feet instead of the required 18 feet. Residence AA District, east side of Lincoln Avenue, number 505, 364.83 feet north of Greenbrier Lane, Sayville. Welcome, sir. Your name and address for the record, please.
Michael Anderson, 505 Lincoln Avenue, Sayville, New York.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. A little too close. Probably went off the fence.
Yeah,
That little curve right there. Seems de minimis. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? The board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a
thank
great
you.
night.
Next application, number 4 of 2022, Michael M. and Karen M. Seeley. Permission to leave hot tub having side yard of 11 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence A District, north side of Lincoln Avenue, number 73, 350 feet east of Cunagunda Place, Islip Terrace, New York. Folks, both of your names and addresses for the record, please.
Michael Seeley, 73 Lincoln Avenue, Islip Terrace.
Don't tell me. Karen Seeley.
Karen Seeley, 73 Lincoln Avenue, Islip Terrace, New York, 11752.
My detective skills.
How are you guys tonight?
Great, how are you?
Good. Hot tub, a little too close. They look at it as a pool. We see them all the time. I don't believe a hot tub's a pool, but just my opinion.
Agreed.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? If you can't cannonball in it, you can't call it a pool.
And you really can't even do a whole
Have a
lot.
couple margaritas, cannonball. Just saying.
Absolutely.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Thanks so much. Happy New Year.
Next application, number 5 of 2022, Sandra Aloisi. Permission to leave second-story deck having side yard of 17 feet instead of required 18 feet. Shed having 6 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of the required 20 feet. And driveway having side yard of 2.5 feet instead of the required 4 feet. And front yard occupancy of 44% instead of the permitted 35%. Residence AA District, east side of Belmore Avenue, number 815. 225 feet south of Amityville Street, Islip Terrace, New York. Madam, Happy New Year. Your name and address for the record, please.
Happy New Year to you all. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so we're here for the second story deck, which is 17 feet off the side yard instead of the 18 feet that's required. And that deck is in line with the existing dwelling. We have the driveway that has a 2-foot side yard instead of the 4, and has also increased the front yard occupancy to 44% instead of the 35. What they did was they extended it to the right side of the property so that they could have access to the detached garage in the rear, and that's what brought up the percentage and brought it closer to the property line. We have a shed not having the required 20 feet behind the line. I did find some precedent in the area for the shed. I was able to locate case number 475-10 that was approved, and 2 houses down, case 960-03 also approved the shed not having 10 feet behind the line of the dwelling.
Was it built, did you say it was built prior to the code amendment to 20?
I'm not sure when the code changed. It's been there for about 6 years. I also had the clients look around the neighborhood, and while I did not look up every precedent that they found over 60 houses that have the shed right next to the dwelling. So it seems to be
Yeah.
within the character and nature of the neighborhood.
These would have only required 10.
Right.
So if they were seeking variances, they have less than
Less than 10, yeah.
6 years ago.
No, no. 10 and over 3, the 2 that she cited.
Oh.
They would have had less
Yes,
than 10.
understood.
So you okay with the deck?
Yeah, it's a foot.
What about driveway?
Sure.
What about the driveway?
Driveway is that front yard?
Front driveway.
High, but
What do you-
I'm worried about pricing.
So you know we always have front yard occupancy down to 40, that's our max,
I do, yes.
a little over. How do we hang our hat to 43? 44, I'm sorry,
It's even worse.
even worse.
I did explain that to the clients. What they said is that they went the original driveway, they left it alone, and they added to the right so that they would have access to the garage. So I think there's no way for them to not extend it to the right in order to get their cars to that garage. The reason that they park now in the detached garage instead of the garage is because they did convert the 2-car attached that was within the dwelling, which we're also applying for.
Maybe they can cut it up for the house a little bit though, put a bed there? You know? What about you, Ben?
It looks like it's an easy driveway. It's not like they have
What about shed?
a fountain.
I think also it is all driveway, but they don't technically have a walkway, which would account for an additional percentage that they would be allowed. They kind of merged the walkway and the driveway together, so.
You can unmerge it, right?
All right, that's a good solution.
So what about the shed?
The shed, with the shed, because they have such a long, narrow property and they are exiting through the rear, the thought process there was, we're getting snow coming up. It's closer to them. They no longer have an attached garage where they can keep storage, so they put it right next to the dwelling. And like I said, there were over 60 properties in the immediate neighborhood, and we do have a house,
Okay,
2 houses down that had precedent.
Okay, so they converted a garage to living space, right? Now they say they have no room for their stuff. And they have this nice big piece of property, but you have to have a shed in that location? Really?
I don't believe that they were aware that it had to be a
Well, they may
certain
not have been,
feet.
but they are now, and they're asking for relief, and frankly, it's not sympathetic. I don't think,
Right, it's kind of,
especially where it's so religious.
The,
it's like the man who kills his parents and throws himself on the mercy of the court as an orphan.
I agree, but we also have 2 houses down that has a shed in the exact
that's
same
but
location with a
those-
grant.
those precedents were when the code said 10 feet, not 20. And your client built the shed 6 years ago, which
Why don't we
was
reserve it?
after.
I believe so.
I don't think we need to reserve. I think they're gonna have to move the shed.
I'd rather a decision tonight, only
Yeah,
because
I-
they're
that's fine.
pending the decision for the sale of their house.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicolio, take a motion.
Motion to deny that portion of the front yard occupancy at 44% and instead grant
No,
40%.
we're gonna do 40.
Oh.
We're gonna flip it.
Oh, we're gonna leave the
Not-
44?
yeah, Not the shed.
All right, so scratch that, we'll start over. Motion to deny that portion of the shed, of the application having to do with the front yard setback of the shed and to grant the balance of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Next application, number
Michelle.
6 of 2022, Marvis L. Lopez, Betty D. Pineda, and Kenya Carolina Lopez. permission to leave roofed over patio having 17 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 20 feet. And second story deck, leaving a rear yard of 10 feet instead of required 25 feet. Residence A District, northwest corner of Grand Boulevard, number 596 and Wirt Street, Brentwood, New York. Once again, welcome.
Good evening, Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you again?
I'm okay, still okay. So we're here again for a second story deck and a roof over patio. I think she's gonna bring up the aerial. This is a corner property and the house is catty cornered, so there's very limited
Yeah, no, I
space
see.
in the yard. The roof over is not requiring any variances for the side, the rear, or even a second front. It's supposed to be 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. They got it to fit 17 feet behind. And the second story deck, again, the same situation with the rear yard because of the way the house is situated. They fit it with 10 feet instead of the 25. The house itself only maintains 20.
I think because of nature of this lot and how the dwelling is built on it, I think they have a pretty good argument there. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a great night. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Next application, number 7 of 2022, Michael and Marie Chidachimo. Permission to leave shed having 11 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of the required 20 feet. Residence A District, south side of Fisher Avenue, number 60, 102.2 feet west of Charles Street, Islip Terrace, New York. Welcome, ma'am. Your name and address for the record, please.
Marie Chidachimo, 60 Fisher Avenue, Islip Terrace, New York, 11752.
I came pretty close on that name, huh? Not bad.
You did good, you did good.
How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I'm sure you heard our conversation about the shed just in the
Mhm.
last application.
Yeah.
How long has the shed been there?
I want to say 16 years.
Well, that's better than 6.
Yeah.
It's 11 instead of 20 back, if that's correct, back, it used to be 10 feet instead of 20 feet. They changed it in 2013?
Yeah.
12
It's 12, I think.
on that? It changed the code. So if you're saying it's 16 years, it would be under the same as when it was 10 feet, not 20.
Okay.
Correct?
You have
anyone
to
wish to
answer,
be-
you have to answer so the court reporter can get
Oh,
your answer.
I guess, I don't, you know.
Well, you
I-
said
It was there
16.
15 years.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know about codes.
That's okay. That's fine. Just wanted to make sure you.
Because it wasn't a tall shed, it was a short shed, whatever. Okay.
Good. All
I
right. Does anyone
understand.
wish to be heard in this application? The board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Happy New Year. Next application, number 9 of 2022, Joseph A. and Joanne Incalcatera. Permission to elevate, two-story dwelling, leaving a front yard of 21 feet instead of the required 25 feet, side yard of 9.6 feet instead of the required 10 feet, total side yards of 19.7 feet instead of the required 25 feet, to erect 2 attached water heater sheds, leaving a side yard of 6.6 feet instead of the required 10 feet, front yard of 38.1 feet instead of the required 60 feet, to relocate shed, leaving a side yard of 2.7 feet and rear yard of 3.6 feet instead of the required 10 feet each, to reconstruct decking, leaving a rear yard of 8.7 feet and side yards of 6 feet and 3.4 feet instead of the required 15 feet each, to erect outdoor shower, leaving a side yard of 3.4 feet instead of the required 15 feet, to raise decking, leaving front yard of 14 feet instead of the required 25 feet, and side yards of 10.1 feet and 5.6 feet instead of the required 15 feet each, to erect roof over, leaving front yard of 14 feet instead of required 25 feet, side yards of 10.1 feet and 9.6 feet instead of the required 15 feet each, all having a floor area ratio of 43.48% instead of the permitted 30%, and to leave an 8-foot lattice fence instead of permitted 6 feet. Residence BAA District, west side of Broadway, number 60, 120 feet north of Central Walk, Fair Harbor. Welcome, Mr. Graham. Happy New Year. And is it still 2022 after all of that? Or are we into 23 yet?
Good evening. Glenn Graham with Graham Associates. 256 Orinoco Drive, Brightwaters, New York. Happy New Year to everybody.
How are you,
Awesome.
sir?
Good. I'd just like to start off, I know it's a long call. I will withdraw the 8-foot lattice fence as I was not able to find any precedent for that. So we could strike that from the call. 8-foot lattice fence instead of permitted 6 feet.
So you'd like to amend the call of the meeting to leave 8-foot lattice fence that permitted 6 feet.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All amended?
I'm also going to submit 4 letters of support from our adjacent neighbors. Stay 1 sec. I also have a picture of the existing home and a proposed elevation. That long call represents what's essentially here today. It's a non-conforming structure. We're looking to elevate the house. The only thing we are changing is going to be adding a roofed over portico, essentially a front porch, and that's shown on page 2. So the house is more or less a box right now that we're going to lift. We're trying to give it some architectural curb appeal by adding that front portico. The zoning department was nice enough to give me 56 pages of precedent that I sought through. And each one of those variances has about 3 or 4 case precedent. So I could either submit that, or I believe Deirdre would be able to give
We'll
us
ask
some
Deirdre
support
what
on that.
her opinion is on what you've done. You done? Yeah, I didn't want to, so.
Am I done? I would say yes. I do. If the board wants, I can rattle off about 25 case numbers. I don't want to waste your time.
You're stating that you just lift this house straight up, add a little portico in the front of it.
That's
Most of
correct.
the call has some precedent, which other,
Yeah, the only one thing I did notice in the call, it said something about 2, let's see, 2 sheds. It's really a hot water heater and an AC platform. It's not two,
sheds.
2 hot water sheds.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
Deirdre from planning. Okay, great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant as amended.
Second. All in favor? Application, great.
Thank you.
Have a great night. See you. Take
I'll
care.
be back. Thank you.
Next application, 28 Cloverdale Drive, LLC. Permission to leave 2-story addition, having a second front yard of 24.3 feet. That would require 30 feet, residence double A district, southeast corner of Cloverdale Drive, 28 Sycamore Avenue, Oakdale, New York. Happy New Year, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Happy New Year, Amy DeVito with Woodhull Expediting with offices at 1031 Main Street, Port Jefferson, New York.
How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Chairman?
Good. What's going on?
So we have a first and second story addition that we're legalizing. It was actually built sometime in the 1970s. My client is the new owner of the property, but I did have the pleasure of working briefly with the seller when we started this process. They were able to find in their old records a notice from the town from about 20 years ago that there was used to be a permit on file for this particular addition, but the building department could not locate the permit. So with that said, we started over, and that's what brought us here today. But the point of me mentioning that is to state that the addition has existed for many, many years, close to 40 years, if not more, and is not obstructing any view from passerbys on the road. It is set back from the actual curb line about 9 feet, even though that's not technically our property. It is set back quite a bit from the corner of the lot, or as known as their second front yard. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. Yeah, I can't actually give it to you because it's my only copy, but I can scan it and send it to Mary tomorrow if you guys want it. Sure.
And this came from the town, or it came from your client's records?
from, I think it's 2000 is the date on that.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay with being at the end of the line.
I didn't mean to do that.
So it's possible they didn't build in accordance with it, and that's why they didn't close it?
I'm not sure if they possibly maybe didn't need a variance at that time based on the code. I don't know when that code was created.
I mean, it's hard to tell the significance of this if we don't know what the permit permitted them to build.
Yes, and I agree with you. The only reason why I'm bringing it up today is to just establish that it was built many years ago and obviously has not created any detriment to the neighborhood. That's all.
Has been like that for a long time.
20 years is the blink of an eye, in my opinion. but-
Oh, that's just when the letter was, that's just when the letter was written. The permit
Oh,
was
yeah,
issued
the
back in
permit was issued in
75.
75.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a 45, 47-year-old permit. I don't know what relevance it even
I mean,
has.
I've seen older records than that, in the building department.
Me too.
Oh.
Also not conforming use.
Right.
Deidre from planning, what's the opinion from planning?
God bless you.
Bless you.
So this, whatever this is in 2000, the permit was issued in 75, it had to have been somehow disposed of by 1980, or they wouldn't have granted the variance. And what was the variance for in 1980 for front yard, right?
That was for someone's front yard, second front yard like this one, 20.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have an issue, but if you want to reserve, I will.
Is this anything? No.
That's just, yeah, but we can't. That's not a butter. Yeah. Jay, I think, I'm sorry to bother you. I think they want this back, right? For your
Yes, please.
Thanks, bro.
I can, like I said, scan an
If you
email
could
to
scan that and
Mary.
send it in,
Yeah,
that'd be
so it's
great.
on record.
So we also have a letter from a neighbor here
Thank you.
about runoff from the roof system.
But it's
And
running off
oil
the,
tank abandoned.
it's running off the Sycamore Avenue.
I don't think that this particular addition is creating any runoff neighbor issues for any of the neighbors. It slopes down into the street.
You can
Yeah.
tell the slope from looking at an aerial.
He's
Yes.
brilliant.
You are much better than me.
Got that crazy money.
True.
It is going, the extension
Goes to.
towards Sycamore Avenue, so I don't know what
You
neighbor
can see
would
where
be
the peak
upset with it.
is, so I mean, logic dictates. It doesn't go up from the peak.
Yeah, there's no known drainage issues on this property that I have witnessed.
I don't know, Greg, if you know, you know. Wherever you go, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
All in favor? Application granted. Have a good night.
You're not getting rid of me yet.
All right, sorry.
Application number 11 of 2022, Elizabeth A. Benoli. Permission to erect a second story addition 12 feet by 41 feet, leaving a side yard of 9 feet instead of the required 14 feet, with floor area ratio of 28.24%. That was permitted 25%, as issued north side of Alphen Drive, number 5, 175 feet west of Johnson Avenue, Sayville, New York. Welcome again. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year again. Amy DeVito, Woodhull Expediting, with offices at 1031 Main Street, Port Jefferson, New York.
How are you again?
I am good. Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, we are proposing to erect a second-story addition and a open porch, which will technically, I guess, be a one-story addition underneath that. Mary pointed out that there was an old plot plan on file that showed a slightly different side yard setback than what we had marked on the survey. So we are requesting 9 feet. An old plot plan shows that the current side yard setback, which we are staying in line with for this addition, is 9.8 feet. We have reached out to the surveyor to clarify what the side yard setback is, but unfortunately, he didn't get back to us in time. So we are here today to request the 9 feet because we feel that that will be a safe bet. That way, if we are a few inches off, we're within what would be granted if the board so wishes to grant.
Deirdre, on the area that you're showing us, the blue is the lot line, and then there's another line which would indicate something else, right? Is that what I'm seeing?
It
So
looks
that's
like a fence,
That's a
yeah.
fence.
Looks like a fence.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
So realistically, when we build this structure, it is likely going to be closer to about 9.5 feet. But again, because we don't have an exact number from the surveyor as of yet, I'm hesitant to change that request so that I don't short my client.
Okay, so let me ask you something. On either side of your client's or especially on the affected side, is that a 1 or a 2-story house next to it?
On the, which side?
Wherever it
The left
is.
side.
On the left side?
Yeah.
That is a 1-story residence.
Okay, and you want to go to 2 stories, yet maintain the same setback as a 1-story structure, right?
That's correct. But the back of the house is already dormered, so let me just go back to my documents.
It's not closer to the property.
No, it's not, but this is an extension of that. A lot of the houses in this neighborhood are Cape style, where it's from the front, it's a 1-story, but in the back, it's actually the 2-story or the half-story. So this would be consistent with that, and then just extend it over. And again, we are not encroaching any further into the side yard line than what already exists.
I think the issue that Mr. Messina is saying is that although most of the homes in this area are dormered at Cape style in the back and bumped up, you're still going to have a 2-story along the almost 40 feet, I'd have to think, along the same setback as the neighbor who has a 1-story dwelling. And this neighborhood's pretty compliant, from my knowledge, with side yard setbacks and size of homes in that. I mean, side yard setbacks and the size of the homes in that whole neighborhood right there.
I did speak with Deirdre before the hearing today, and of course she could share this with you, but she did express to me that she found precedent in the area for 9.4 foot setbacks.
A 2-story?
Yes.
A 2-story? For 2-story. Oh, we have 3 precedents, 9.4, 9.6, 9.7, and 10.
Are they 1-story or 2-story, do you know?
It's 2-story. I don't know.
I know what you're strongly about it. There's precedent, there's precedent. Not looking to penalize it.
Yeah. She has 9.1, she has 3. It's nice looking there.
Thanks. To be able to see.
That's crazy.
Just to clarify, the back part is cantilevered, right? It's up, it's open below it.
That's correct. It's an open porch below.
So the reason for the extra extension out the back even further than the house is just more space upstairs?
That's correct.
So do you think the wall is about 40 feet long?
It is, I actually thought I had a printed copy of the plans in my file, but I don't seem to. So, just give me one moment.
Yeah, it says 12 by 41, you said?
Yeah, it is. I wanted to show you guys the plans, but I don't have them with me. But yes, it's 41 feet long, correct? You're welcome.
Because that precedent, it's open in the back, but if you guys don't, tell me.
The neighbor here to complain?
I don't think so. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
All in favor? Application granted. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Next application, number 12, 2022. Joseph A. and Anna Lynn Aloya. Permission to leave one-story addition, 8.5 feet by 17.1 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 33.8% instead of permitted 25%, to install in-ground pool within rear yard of 7 feet instead of required 10 feet, and to leave patio on side property line, not having required setback of 4 feet, residential district east side of Otter Boulevard, 1463, 500 feet north of Chestnut Drive, Bay Shore, New York. Counselor, welcome, name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Council. Happy New Year. Steve Bertolino, 130 West Main Street, East Islip, New York, for the applicant. Before we get started, I'd just like to hand up 2 photographs that the applicant just handed me. Want to point out to the board that I have a copy of the certificate of occupancy on the present dwelling. Has a ZBA 391-99, allows 1-story addition and 2nd-story addition at 34.4% FAR. That's on the CO. I can tell you, I believe that's incorrect because I read the ZBA decision that purportedly relates to, and it looks like the application was amended to 31.9% floor area ratio. The reason I start off with that is because, as you know from the call of the meeting, we're asking for this 33.8% when the CO already says 34.4%, and it should be 31.9. You can see from the photographs what they're talking about. The addition is really just a seasonal, truly screened-in porch. This is not a structure in any sense of the imagination. The applicant would certainly covenant never to, how shall I say, wall this off, let alone put a roof over it, because the structure as it exists would not support a roof. So if the board saw fit to grant the application to allow the increase in the FAR, which technically is lower than the actual CO at 34.4%, we would agree to that covenant. With respect to the second part of the application and the swimming pool, the pool would comport to the southerly property setback of 10 feet. We're asking for a relaxation on the easterly side from 10 feet down to 7. The pool is relatively small, 14 by 28, because of that screened-in porch that the applicant has been using for years, and the patio that comes off the house. We're asking for the relaxation so that the pool is not right up against the screened-in porch when you walk out the door. Even if you were to remove the screened-in porch, the pool would be awfully close to the house, and we've accommodated for that by proposing a much smaller pool. I believe that this application would have no detrimental effect environmentally or to the nature and character of the area. It's not necessarily de minimis, but we really have no other place to put the pool, and we have reduced the pool in size to accommodate the request. If the board has any questions, certainly be happy to answer them.
Deirdre, any precedent for the pool? They are complying with one side, which the board likes to see. So, Mr. Bertolino, just to clarify for the record, because I'm blown away, just maybe for my own record, this screened-in canvas covered area pushed the FAR up? They count that under FAR?
I couldn't believe it myself, Mr. Chairman, but yes.
I think it's the way the surveyor
Drew it.
indicated it.
Well, that's why we handed up the picture. And as you can see, it's not technically a structure. The whole thing could be removed.
I think sometimes the surveyors get a little too detailed with the choices of words.
Yeah, I mean, it does say enclosed because it was roofed over, but it's the type of roof that you remove every winter. It doesn't support the weight of the snow load.
Yeah.
But it is an enclosure.
It is what it is. That's where you live.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, if we had a choice between making an interpretation or granting the relief, which would you prefer?
I think it would be easier to grant the relief if you can do it tonight, but if you want to make
Anything's easy for us.
if you'd like to make an interpretation that this, I would say for precedent-setting purposes, because I know the board doesn't like to go over 30%, we could determine that this is technically not an enclosed porch, that the depiction on the survey may be overly broad and that it is really not a structure of a permanent nature.
And your client agreed never to, as you said, wall it in.
We're never going to wall it in, and certainly we couldn't put a permanent structure, roof on that structure as it exists.
Yeah, okay.
I was wondering if you'd have an objection to the call being amended because it references it as a one-story addition to the dwelling.
I have no objection to that.
Are we gonna do relief? or are we
Well,
gonna
so
do-
that someday when planning does research, they don't say there was an addition granted and allowed an FAR of 33%.
So what are we gonna call it? A one-story sunroom or screened in
Try
area?
some, you can make an interpretation that doesn't need proceed, and in the event that the building department takes a contrary position, we grant it.
I kind of concur with Mr. Nicolia that it's just a literal interpretation of the statute in defining what a structure is. But as you can see from the photographs, this is not the intent.
It's a structure, but it may not be an addition. I think that's our structure.
Right.
Whatever.
It's in the ground, so it's a structure, but
Well, it's some component parts. Go with the regular definition.
It's the roof that includes it in gross floor area, but
Yeah.
that's not a roof.
It's a canvas, it's a top, and it's seasonal. And again, it wouldn't hold the snow load.
So do you mind if we would amend the call to state permission to leave a one-story screened structure? Screen structure? I don't know. Is that a seasonal structure?
One-story seasonal screen structure.
Yeah.
can we add into that with a removable tarp roof?
Canvas roof. I think seasonal structure. covers it
Well,
all.
no, but I mean, just so it's clear.
Yeah.
Because I could see some of the people who come in front of us getting.
All right, so I'd like to amend the call of the meeting to state permission to leave a one-story seasonal structure with canvas removable roof. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicolia, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
As amended, right?
Yes. Application granted, sir. Have a good,
Happy New Year.
happy new year.
Thank you.
You're back.
Next application, number 13-22, Unique Homes Hotel LLC and Dan McGuire. Permission to erect an addition, 27.2 feet by 4.5 feet, with a second front yard of 25.2 feet. And to erect addition to garage, 23.7 feet by 14 feet, with a second front yard of 20.2 feet, instead of the required 30 feet. Residence Double A District, corner of Union Street, number 891 and Walnut Avenue, New York. Welcome back.
Yes, good evening once again. For the applicant, same appearance, Steve Bertolino, 130 West Main Street, East Islip, New York. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'd like to point out that this particular structure has a certificate of occupancy dated 2nd of July, 1946. I handed up 3 photos, and I apologize. The photos were not taken for purposes of this hearing. They were just taken of the structure when my client acquired it. The first photo, you can see what we're asking for with respect to the dwelling setback on the front yard. There were 3 bump outs on the existing structure, and my client just connected them. There was no change in the setback from the road to the structure as it existed. It's just the connecting the portico where the door is. Then there was another bump out on the house just beyond the door, and then you can see a third one. So that's in the first photograph. But if you stay focused on the first photograph and follow from left to right, you can see on the right side of the photograph what appears to be yellow siding, which is the garage. You turn the page to the second photograph, and you can see that technically there were 3 garages there. This garage had a setback of 20 feet as of a survey dated 1963. So it already existed. There were 2 additional, we'll call them carports, somewhere between a garage and a carport that were installed. On the third picture, you can see that the carports were removed because they were illegal. So they were illegally constructed, and they were removed by my client when he purchased the property. However, we'd like to install a new garage where those carports had been in line with the existing garage at 20 feet. So therein lies the request for the call of the meeting. We're asking to leave the setback on those bump outs that has now been squared off. And we're asking to erect the garage in line with the existing 20-foot setback garage, which from what I can tell has existed since at least 1963 and perhaps as long as 1946. Again, if the board saw fit to grant the application, I don't think this would have any detrimental effect on the environment or in the nature and character of the community. Diagonally across the street, there is a detached garage. It appears to be about 25 feet off the road. In the immediate area, this is like a hodgepodge of some older dwellings and some new dwellings. Indeed, this particular lot has a two-barn horse stall in the northwest corner of the property, although the property is not what we would consider large enough to be horse property. With that being said, we're enhancing this property. It's a very much older house. We're bringing it up to par, and I don't think the effect to the neighbors would outweigh the benefit to the applicant.
Deirdre, what is the opinion of planning? All right. You guys good? You good? Good. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Second, yeah.
All in favor? Application granted.
Thank you once again. Have a good evening.
Have a good
See you
night,
again. See you next week.
He's back again.
Application number 8, 2022, John and Angela Willett. Wishing to erect a second-story addition, 8.8 feet by 29.5 feet, with a side yard of 12.3 feet, instead of the required 14 feet. Include shed having side yard of 10.5 feet instead of required 2 feet. AC unit not having 4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. Outside of West Cedar Street, number 545 feet west of Islip Avenue. Mr. Graham. There he is.
Good evening. Glenn Graham, Graham Associates, 256 Orinoco Drive, Brightwaters, New York. Just handing up a picture of the existing home. We are looking to do a small modest addition over the existing garage, and it will be in line with the house. That is page 1. Page 3 shows an existing shed that we would like to keep at 1.5 instead of 2. And there is, I guess on page 1, you can see the air conditioning system. It's hidden by some landscaping, and we could further landscape it to hide it even better. So no change to existing setbacks.
That's the little air conditioning unit they had,
Yeah, it's one of those split units.
split ducts or whatever they are. Deirdre, I'm assuming there's no objection from planning, but. Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion. All in favor?
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Application number 14-22, Harold E. and Barbara A. Chapman, permission to leave entry platform having front yard of 22 feet instead of the required 40 feet, second story deck having a side yard of 12.2 feet instead of the required 14 feet, residential district east side of Third Avenue, 31, 163.05 feet south of Union Boulevard, East Islip. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Harold Chapman, 31 Third Avenue, East Islip, New York.
How are
Good
you
evening,
tonight, sir?
everyone.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Go ahead, state your case.
Excuse me?
You want to state your case?
Oh, yeah. I have a porch on the front of my house. I think I had a variance back in the 80s when I extended my house, made it a second story, and I have the plans here with me. And so I put the entrance on the front of the house, and then I put a little porch in the front of it. But I needed, apparently that needed to be, have a variance. And at the time, I didn't know that. So I put that on. And then when the surveyor came around, and then I was talking to Cassandra at planning on another issue, and she said I needed to have this corrected by the Board of Appeals.
So this has been there since the 80s?
Well, yes, I have the original plans, and the town didn't have them,
No,
but
that's okay. That's okay. I appreciate your candor.
We have a ZBA 5-84. Permission to erect addition of dwelling 26 by 40, leaving a front yard setback of 35.45 instead of required 40.
yeah, I believe that was
granted.
back in like at 84.
84, yeah, 1984.
Right. I never gave a thought to the entrance to the house.
So now it's just a wood porch, a little small. It's not enclosed?
No, it's just a wooden porch. It's like 4 by 8 with the steps.
Never to be enclosed? Oh, it's not even covered.
No, it's an open porch.
Yeah. All right, what's going on with the platform on the southerly side?
Well, the same thing, in my plans, it says, deck approved by owner, to be built by owner on the original plans. And so I built the second story because when you come out of my master bedroom, there, I put a deck and then stairs going down, and the deck is in line with the house. And I thought as long as it was in line with the house, there wouldn't be a question. But once again, Cassandra asked me to bring it to you for your approval.
Yeah, so the stairs is just the only 2 feet.
Well, I believe it calls for 14 feet and it's 12 feet. And my house is 12 feet from the property line.
Okay, you good? You good? Yeah. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Come on up, sir. So I'm just gonna have to let him neighbors speak, if you don't mind. Just name and address for the record when you get up here. Come on up. And just be careful of the cords that you, right here. We gotta do something about those cords.
How you doing?
My name is James Cappick. I'm on 3 Carey Street, across the street from Cappock. And I just don't understand what's happening. And so I think you're adding a deck on the side?
You gotta speak to us, sir, if you
No,
don't
no.
mind.
Yeah, I mean, what's
No.
happening here, sir, is they're just leaving what's all.
Leaving what I have there. I
Yeah,
had to get
well,
permission to keep
sir,
that
we can-
porch, my front porch.
So
Yeah,
we
no,
can,
well,
hey,
you
guys,
said
we
front
can,
porch, you have steps into the
gentlemen,
house.
gentlemen,
Okay, that
Permission-
says,
Yeah, for to keep that.
gentlemen, we have to, you gotta speak to the board. She has to get this for the record, so
I'm sorry.
we'll explain to you what's
If
going
you
on.
want, take a minute, you can talk to yourselves, we'll recall your application, all right?
Okay.
Would you rather that or no?
Well,
Or-
yeah, you can explain to them what I'm
I can
doing.
explain to
You
him.
guys
What-
can explain to each
I'm
other.
not building a new deck.
what he's doing is just leaving the open porch that's there now
okay,
on there. And in the side property, he's got a second story deck with the stairs come down and encroaches 1.5 feet into the side property, which we see him all the time. He's not building anything new.
there is an existing deck on the side?
In the
In the
rear,
back.
in the rear.
Oh, in the back.
stairs,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
That's all it is.
so nothing's being done on the
Nothing new,
side?
no.
I'm good.
Okay, be careful the cords, please.
Thanks for coming
Thank you for
down.
coming out
Thank you.
tonight, sir.
Does anyone wish
Thanks for
else,
coming down.
does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Application granted.
Now, will I be notified, by the board?
Say again?
Will the board notify me with a letter?
You'll get the letter in the mail, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Next application number 15 of 2022. Nicholas Bayonne, permission to establish accessory apartment.
Got it.
Additions to dwelling resulting in floor area ratio of 28% instead of 25%. To use semi-in-ground pool, having rear yard 7.5 feet instead of required 14 feet. To use shed having side yard of 1.5 feet. And rear yard of 1 foot. And patio having side yard of 4 feet instead of required 4 feet each. To leave driveway having front yard occupancy of 36% instead of permitted 35%. Residence A districts outside of Tracy Lane, number 72, 279.39 feet west of Keswick Drive, East Islip. Trepakowski, welcome, happy new year, name and address for the record.
Happy New Year.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year also. Richard Trepakowski, Trpicovsky, 173 North Main Street, Sayville, New York. Agent for the applicant.
How are you tonight?
Very well, thank you.
So it appears your accessory apartment is in line 700 square feet. The driveway is denied.
Driveway was approved as far as I know.
Oh, and here it says denied regarding, can't read the handwriting, I wish I could.
Fire grant.
Let me take a look.
Denied for the following reason: needs hold harmless agreement for the pavers in the town of Islip right away, block wall, repair roadway, saw cut 2 foot and replace asphalt, excessive driveway possible over 35% yard coverage. We got 36, we gave it to 40, so that's fine with that, but it appears from here it was, the driveway was denied.
Okay, honestly, I thought it was approved, but I have to look through the paperwork.
Well, maybe your client was doing some work on it and it
Yeah.
re-inspected?
They will bring it to compliance if need be.
All right, semi-underground pool. How long has that pool been there?
It's been there a number of years. We don't have an exact date for it, but I would assume it's been probably 15 years.
So life of the pool, so if you have to repair the pool in any way, you have to make it comply.
I'm sorry?
If you have to replace the pool, you have to make it comply.
Yes, if we have to replace the pool, we would make it in compliance.
Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application, that you grant that portion of the application for the accessory apartment for the.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Next application number 16-22, Hen Development 2 Court, permission to erect 2-story addition and second-story addition, leaving front yard of 35 feet instead of required 40 feet, side yard of 9.6 feet instead of required 14 feet to erect roof and entry platform, leaving front yard 30.1 feet instead of required 40 feet, and to leave addition to detached garage, having side yard of 3.8 feet instead of required 10 feet, residence A district, south side of Third Avenue, number 47. 1,400 feet east of Carlton Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Ma'am, your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Sharon O'Brien, 54 Miller Place, Middle Island Road, Mount Sinai, New York.
How are you tonight?
I'm fine, and I hope the board is well also.
Great. Yep. You're here for HEM Development?
I am, and I do have some paperwork that I would like to give to the Sergeant of Arms. In that paperwork is a plot plan showing that we are going to remove the rear addition on the detached garage. And there is a current picture of the house and the detached garage.
So you're removing that extension off the detached
Yes, sir.
garage?
The subject property is an approved parcel with a 1-story, 1-family residence and a detached garage. As per the certificate of occupancy, the residence was constructed in June of 1950, and the detached garage was constructed in 1990. The property fronts 3rd Avenue with 72.90 feet of road frontage, narrowing to the rear of the parcel at 64.60 feet. The existing residence consists of 731 square feet with no attached garage. We are proposing to construct a 1-story addition of 250 square feet on the east side of the residence to be used as a garage, and a 2nd-story addition of 1,062 feet over the new footprint that will consist of 4 bedrooms and 1 bath. We are also proposing to construct a 36 square foot portico off the front of the residence. The area is a well-established older area with a mix of 1- and 2-story residents. We feel our proposal will be an asset to the area and will increase the property values. We also are installing a new septic system, which has been applied for by others. Unfortunately, I don't have the RO number with me. If the board has any questions.
I appreciate it. Deirdre, from planning?
440 square feet as per the CO.
Yep. I'll call me anyway. Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Yep, I'm gonna amend it. I'm gonna amend it. Can I just give me 1 second, ma'am, if you don't mind, before you state your name? I'm gonna make a motion to amend the call of the meeting to leave addition to detached garage having side yard at 3.8 feet instead of required 10 feet.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry. Name and address for the record,
Good
please.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dorothea Blum. I'm the owner of the house, their neighbor, 49 Third Avenue, and I have great, 4 letters long, BLOM. I have concern in regard to the building of what's going on. She says she's taking away the back garage. That's a main concern, that now that issue is null. But in regard to the portico and the closeness to my yard, the area is a fragile area in Central Islip. There's houses that have been there, owners have been there for a long time. There's houses, owners have been there for a long time. I've been there for over 30 years. You see the area change. And yes, it would be ideal if what they're proposing is to be a single family house. That would be wonderful. However, with the previous owner, history had been quite different. And in regard to that, we had major drug problems, lack of, when that property became a rental, there was issues with drugs. And since we are in a cul-de-sac and we're right alongside the elementary school, it's important that it maintains a single family use, because with the possibility of, since they're putting in many rooms and stuff, it sounds like it's going to be like a flop house or something.
Well, they're
which
not
is-
here, they're not here in front of us, other than to erect some additions, and remove some additions that were illegal, and a front yard setback. They're not here for any accessory apartment or.
Well,
two-family,
neither
nothing.
had the previous owner. However, I mean, due to my calling, there was issues that the town had come down, and at one point in time, because they were renting out the back garage, which is no longer an issue, they had come to my house looking to check in my shed to see who's living in the garage. They had the wrong address.
Sure.
But, it's a fragile area. It has to be, I mean, there's a few of us that, well, there's more than a few. It grows. The population is concerned. They have children, and we want to keep the area safe.
Sure.
But, you have to be careful. Like, and also in regard to what they're building on their house, she says a portico. Now, my house is set back, and with that portico, it will be totally obscuring my safety to the roadway, because there's the school fence, which we complain and hope, and I offer free coffee to the police to hang out here because of the area. And it's just, for my
Portico's
safety.
just gonna be roofed over and open. It's not, it's just a overhang. It's not an enclosed structure.
Well, it's a good, it will be obscuring,
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have any sides.
correct.
Just an overhang.
Just an overhang.
So
It's like a- it's like a-
or anything from your first floor.
Well, I mean, because as a small neighborhood and we're trying to keep our area safe, we all kind of look out for each other.
Sure.
And at one point in time, the previous owner had hedges, and we would always try to check the people across the street. We all try to keep each other safe. And with this portico, it's going to be,
But man, there's something on it already.
Yeah,
It looks like the.
It looks like the house, this is an assessor's photo from 2008, but it looks like the house had a roofed over entry platform. That's what.
it's going to be small, or is it going to be a large? That was just a 4x4 unit over stoops.
No, it's the same, it's pretty much the same size.
May I
Here's
see
it.
it?
Right around.
May I see it?
It's 6 by 6. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, that's
Yeah,
With no walls.
no walls.
with no, okay,
And you know,
that's,
we have something that you probably heard in the past applications, that we look in the area, and if there's precedent for front yard setback, which they're asking for, it's hard for us to say no when someone else has it. So a roofed over,
no, if it's that small, that's,
yeah, see that little covering on the front door?
yeah, because that was there previously,
Yeah,
and
that's it.
then
That's what
some
it's
new
called.
builders came in and started building, and then they stopped building,
Sure.
so I don't really.
Understand your concern. We get it.
Lack of permits will do that.
Yeah, the previous owner did a lot of things without permits, which was a major problem.
Sure. And they're removing that addition to the detached garage in the back, so they have that detached garage CO'd on the property without that illegal addition. It's going to bring it back to the CO'd size of that detached structure.
So the back garage is going to be completely gone.
Nope, it's going to be back down to the legal size that's on the CO.
Okay, then somebody in the office sent me the plot plan of what's to be. Now, it did not indicate that the garage is to be removed.
No,
So,
the garage is not to be removed. The illegal extension off the rear of the garage is going to be removed. The garage is CO'd. They had an illegal extension off the back. That's going to be removed.
there was never an extension built on the garage.
There
I
was.
lived there for over 30 years.
I'm just telling you what I see on
Probably been there a
surveys
long
and stuff.
time, but it's a definite roof line change.
It's a
in the
roof
back
line
of the
change in the
garage.
rear of it. That's getting removed.
The only thing that's different is for where the roof collapsed from the raccoons living in
I'm
it.
gonna circle it for you right here.
Please.
Jay, if you don't mind, I'm sorry, bud, you getting your exercise tonight?
Running up the stairs.
Yeah, he's spry, he's spry. Where I circled is going to be removed.
Oh,
Okay? That other structure is CO'd to be there.
okay, I'm trying to, okay. This is different side of the, okay. I don't think it looks exactly right.
Well, everything else that the applicant has asked for is, we have in the area already, so she's pretty much in line with everything else.
So they're just putting on a second story now on the house, and it says a garage.
Not the garage. They're putting a garage next to the house and putting a second story on that.
Right, they're
Make
putting
more
a garage next to the house and keeping the back garage,
It's
having absolutely no access to exiting, thus enabling it to become a rental property?
It's not,
They're not in front of us for a rental property. If it becomes that,
Can you have two
We can,
garages?
ma'am, we cannot presume an illegal use, okay?
Okay.
What we have to base it on is whether or not the structure complies with the zoning ordinance, and where it does not, we have to determine whether or not the request for relief is reasonable based on 5 factors set forth in state law.
Right.
So we can't assume that
Okay.
somebody's going to do bad things.
If
We
they
just can't do
rent it
that.
out, they would need permits and
yeah,
stuff?
sure.
Yes, absolutely.
They have
So
to comply.
it would be due to my diligence to maintain a close eye and then,
Yeah, contact them.
If you see something that's wrong, by all means, call
and
code
it's to be a
enforcement.
single-family residence?
That's what they're in
Correct.
front of us
And
for.
what is the definition of a single-family residence?
What?
You know, the people have spent decades litigating that, ma'am. It's not that simple.
It's
Because
CO'd
that's
as a
what-
single-family residence, that's what they're looking to do. That's all in front of us. We can't look into the future to say what they're gonna do in the future. We don't know. If they're doing something wrong, it's your right to contact code enforcement.
Well, I had, over the past 30 years, I had contacted the town several times in regard to the issues that were occurring.
Okay.
And, I mean, somehow the people would get a heads up and they would, like, they were illegally renting out the basement. And they would it's just, like I said, at one point in time, the town official had come to my house
Sure.
looking to see who's living in the garage. Now, they had on the garage, put on a meter and everything.
Well,
but
they're not
the
allowed,
town-
they're not doing that. That's just gonna
But,
be a.
but what I'm saying is, what I'm
It's not
saying
for
is
us.
that was there and it was visible, yet nothing was done to correct it.
That's not us.
It's not us.
That's not anything we're responsible for, or we could do anything about. Okay?
they're doing the right thing right now by coming, getting the variances they need,
And it's a new owner.
and it's a new owner. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. We can't overreach on that.
I understand. That's just,
If you see something,
I mean, I try to
Well,
keep my property nice and many of us try it. But when they do make it a like there's potential for 4 rooms on top and they rent out each room individually, just hypothetically speaking, if that occurs, it impacts the rest of us who are trying to live there and enjoy
agree.
peaceful, quality of our lives.
and they're not supposed to do that. So if you see something like that happen,
And
you have
it
to
did
call.
happen previously, and I know we had police there constantly. I had,
We appreciate all your concerns, but there's nothing we can do about it.
I understand.
They're here. We're only the zoning board of appeals. They're here asking for relief of the code to fix up this home. That's all we can do. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say to you. I can't do anything else on that.
Is there any follow through I can continue with to make sure it continues to be a single family home? Is there something I can do to make sure they comply or
If
something?
they break the rules, call code enforcement.
You can ask the building department to see a copy of the plans when they're filed under the Freedom of Information Act.
Well, nowadays people rent rooms. They don't need specific qualifications.
We
It's
can't
just,
control, we can't, that's not in front of us. I'm sorry.
all right, thank you.
All right. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further? Ms. O'Brien, would you,
Be careful of the wires.
Yes, sir.
anything further?
No, sir. The only thing I can say is the board already knows I'm not responsible for somebody else's actions.
Sure. I'm sorry. Anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Board have any further questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application as amended.
All in
Thank you
favor?
very much.
Application granted as amended.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
The board stay well.
You too.
-22, Adam and Elisa Candriva. Permission to erect a second story addition, 20.3 feet by 39.9 feet, leaving rear yard 13.8 feet instead of the required 25 feet. Residence Ed District, northwest corner of Beatrice Avenue, #2, and Loma Avenue. Size of New York, gentlemen, both of you, your names and addresses for the record, please.
My name is Scott Burkell. I reside in Bethpage, my office. I'm the builder, East Coast Dormer, and I'm representing Mr. Candriva. Oh, yes, B as in boy, OERCKEL.
How are you tonight?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so we're here for a non-conforming rear yard. This property sits on an odd piece of property. If it was a side yard, it wouldn't be a problem. It just happens to be sitting from the survey, as you can see, it's on an odd shape. I know one of the neighbors are here contesting it a little bit, just maybe curious, but this house sits further back than hers, much further back. If you look on Google Earth, you can probably see it. And again, it's not conforming. I have renderings, if it helps at all. I made some rendering for all 5 years.
So you're here seeking a second story addition,
Yes,
rear yard 13.8 instead of
thank you.
25. You're stating you're staying in line with the house?
Yes, I'm staying in line with the building line of the first floor.
Going up the second story.
I'm going straight up. There's no cantilevers at all.
I wasn't sure if there was any different contingencies with side property, corner properties, if that was really considered a backyard, but, or side yard, because it does meet the side yard standard. My backyard is way more than 25 feet. Well, like, what I use for my backyard is more than 25 feet. My front yard is 41 feet. I meet all requirements everywhere else. I guess just because it's a corner, it's weird. But, right, yeah, right. That's
exactly
I wasn't sure if there was anything.
I mean, it is a modular addition. It will go quick. We'll be there for nothing really more than 2 weeks. So if the neighbors are concerning anything about, construction going on and on, we're in and out. All right. You want to speak a little bit?
I think I'm good.
I think we covered a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you got any questions for us? Oh, jeez.
Good thing you don't come in front of the board.
Oh, yeah, I'm good, I'm fine.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Come on up, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to give you a chance in a second, so don't go too far.
Okay.
How are you, sir?
Great.
Name and
My
address
name's
for the
Russell
record.
Burns. I live at 162 Norma Avenue, West Islip.
How are you doing?
I'm good. The neighbors are great, and I hate to even be here. I've been there 60 years, and my opposition to it is a loss of privacy in my backyard. I mean, this house is in my backyard. And the property value of my property, I could see being damaged by, if I pull up in my driveway and I see this massive house there. I have a picture here of their house. Their house is 3 feet above my grade, which puts their house at almost 30 feet above me. I'm not sure whether my word has anything to do on the judgment, but I felt like I needed to be heard because I've lived there for so long. I've feared for this to happen sooner or later, not knowing what monstrosity somebody was going to put next to me. As you can see from the picture, it's quite overhanging. It's entire invasion of my privacy, in my opinion.
Where did you get this picture from?
I took that just a little while ago, today. That's from my back door.
And that's what exists, and they want to go on top of this?
That's right. It's huge. And I'm disappointed that I have to do it. The neighbors are great. They've been no problem. They've been there more than 5 years. Not a problem.
Understood.
But the destruction to my privacy and cost of value would be devastating, in my opinion.
Reserve and take a peek at this. All right, thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
That's very helpful.
Reserve. Guys, want to come back up? Yeah, we're gonna reserve decision and look at this file carefully. Excuse me?
You want to ask for a rear yard first? This is the front of the house.
Yeah, do you guys can you do a rear yard version of this?
I could.
I think
We have a set of prints.
I have a set of blueprints that show.
Rendering.
We'll take the blueprints though too. Can we keep them in file? We can-
Sure.
So,
They're preliminaries, so it's just simple drawing.
so let me express this. And, okay, you give it some thought, you spoke to your neighbor. You don't want to, you say you don't have it. But the concern I always have when people go and build a second story and they're keeping the side yard setback of the first of a one-story structure is that, there's a bigger setback for second stories for a reason. And one of those the big reasons is privacy and an adverse impact. If you show us something on your second story that, or can point out, something you've done to mitigate any potential loss of privacy, that would be helpful to me. I can't speak for my colleagues, but it would be helpful to me. So if there's anything that you want to point out with respect to that, whether it's tonight or if you want a brief period to do that, I'm sure we can talk about that. I would suggest we do so.
Sure. If I could add, if you look at the back drawing, that second story is only going to be, there's the 4 windows that you see for the second story is it's 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom window. So where the 2 windows are closest, that's the master bedroom. The window to the left of that is going to be the bathroom, and then the farthest one is my 4-year-old son. So.
Well, that's your 4-year-old son now. He grows up to be a 24-year-old kid. He
I
comes
know.
back home after college, trust me.
I understand. It's only a couple windows. If there's,
But it's
there's no.
windows, and that's the problem.
I guess,
So again, if there's something else you want to suggest, you don't have to have an answer right this second.
Well, we're trying to give you a view of what the back second floor.
The problem is you are already kind of towering over your neighbor's property.
His house that sits down lower, property line.
It doesn't matter. The effect is you're towering over it and you're making that worse. You're exactly.
Oh, I see. Sure.
So again, if there's something you can come up with, and you may want to talk to your neighbor about that, I don't know.
Is there a suggestion the board can make for
No,
us?
no,
No.
I couldn't tell you. I didn't create it, guys.
If I
Design
lowered the roof
professional.
pitch, would that help?
I have no idea. Again,
Okay.
take a look at it. I mean, whatever you want to submit something, Mr. Chairman, if we could, 2 weeks, maybe we can give him to try to work this.
If they had, if the original builder had picked a different front yard.
Right.
This would be completely legal.
Well,
Well, it'd be off by 0.2.
I understand that, but it's not.
But you're right, it's not, and it is what it is.
Sure.
I agree.
It's unfortunate.
I just want to also note that there is precedent for the exact same rear yard for literally the house that's right over here. It's also a second story. It's also a rear yard of 13.8. I don't know if there's windows. There's not a scan where I can see if there was like a deal that was made with no windows along that side, something like that. But this is the subject property up here.
Right.
And this house down here was given rear yard related to 13 feet.
When we discussed this in,
Where is there a rear yard on that house?
Right there, right there.
Okay. So, okay, thank you.
Next to that house, there's no windows at all on that side of that person's house. So
That's important
there's
to
no
know.
comparison.
when we discussed this, can we hold that decision?
Yeah. Deirdre, what's the ZBA number? Do you have it?
Yes, 020-.
So, sir, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. If you guys don't mind stepping off for a second. The picture that you took here, and I'm just asking this for the record.
Right,
This is your rear yard, correct?
that's right.
Your house is up here.
Where I took the picture from, right near that light post, is my back door.
Your
My
back
back door
door.
is right there, yeah.
So your house is up here,
You can see my house.
Right here.
Yep, right there.
and
yeah.
this is a detached garage.
That's
This
right.
garage.
That's right. You know, I hate to do this, and the neighbors are very nice, but it's,
Hopefully they'll sit down with you and the two of you can talk and maybe you can work.
you know, even if they weren't putting any windows on the house, the mass
weren't
of,
putting
the
any
mass of the
windows.
house in my, you know, no matter what, his house gonna look like I'm in his backyard.
I understand that, except given the precedent that you just heard, if there aren't any windows there, we're gonna be hard pressed to find a reason to deny it. Okay?
Right.
There's precedent, right?
Because it's right
Or
two
rear yard,
doors
two
down.
doors down,
I
you
mean,
saw
know,
that.
If we did that, a court would take a look at it and throw that decision right out. So, they know what their weaknesses are, you know what the situation is. I cannot believe you all seem like very reasonable people that you couldn't work something out, but that's up to you. If not, we'll make a decision.
Mainly, I'm concerned with the resale, because I'm nearing retirement, I'm gonna sell my house. Somebody pulls in my driveway, and directly above them, less than 11, 12, 13 feet, whatever you want to
You
call it,
expressed that very clearly.
there's a
so thank you.
35-foot house.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to reserve decision. Does anyone else wish to be heard? The board have any further questions? I make a motion to reserve decision. We have 62 days by law to render a decision.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second the motion, but I also wanted to give them their 2 weeks. if
Oh,
they want.
sorry.
So,
Go ahead.
Before the 62-day clock started to run, if that's all right. with you.
Yes.
So our 2 weeks is to do what? I'm sorry.
If you want to submit anything else to us in terms of.
Whatever decision we come up with together.
Or come up with together, or even something you come up with on your own that would mitigate the privacy.
Sure.
You see the situation, right?
Yes,
The
I do.
privacy concerns.
So I can't eliminate all the windows.
Well, you don't negotiate with us. Send us
I know.
what you can.
Typically, you can, and we'll look at it, and we'll render a decision as quick as we can.
So I think it's more of a privacy thing than anything else. So I'll address it that way if I could.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
I'll second your motion. Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, our next application is number 18 of 2022, James and Kimberly Meyer. Permission to erect a one-story addition, 8 feet by 16.2 feet, in the front yard, 33.3 feet, instead of required 40 feet, residential district, east side of Fremont Road, number 17. 68.36 feet south of Hillary Street, West Sayville, New York. Sorry, your name and address for the record.
Yes, how you doing? James Meyer, 17 Fremont Road, West Sayville, New York, 11796.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good, thank you.
So you have a house that sits, what, 40 feet, 2 inches? And you're looking to put a little extension on the front?
Yeah, I have
What's
a,
that?
basically a galley kitchen. You can't put a
Trying to
table
push
in
it
it.
out a little bit?
So I'm just, yeah, we're redoing the house and I'd like to just extend a few feet.
Gotcha. Any, Deidre, any precedent?
Yeah, yeah, somebody around the corner did it already.
There's a precedent for a front yard of 32.5, specifying that it's only 1 story, so this is more in that case. And then there's another from 1989 where there wasn't a scan, so I'm not too sure, but there's a front yard of 36.45.
So you're keeping it 1 story, sir?
Yes, oh yeah. Yeah, we redid the whole house except for this part.
Sure. I know the area well. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? You got Preston, you good? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great night.
Thank
Enjoy.
you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Next application number 19.
It's granted, you know that, right? You good? All right.
John S. Cicciarello and Ashley M. Frank, permission to lease detached garage, 26.1 feet by 28.1 feet, with attached roof over 14.5 feet by 16 feet, having a side yard of 5 feet and rear yard of 4.2 feet instead of required 10 feet each. Gross floor area exceeding ground floor area of the dwelling. Residence B District, west side of Pease Lane, number 550, 200.25 feet north of Merritt Street, West Islip, New York. Sir, your name and address, please, for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Michael Morbillo, architect. My firm is Nspire Design Group. My office is located at 4964 Express Drive South, Suite 1 in Ronkonkoma. Sure. M as in Michael, O-R, B as in boy, I-L-L-O. Thank you.
How are you tonight?
Good.
Can I ask one quick question before
Sure.
you start? The part of the application with regards to the gross floor area exceeding ground floor area of dwelling, the pergola, the roof over pergola puts that over, or the dwelling itself without that roof over pergola?
The actual garage itself, yeah.
The footprint of the dwelling is 690.
Okay.
So it's more than just a pergola.
Well, just pergola. Thank you. I'm not good at math, so I just need to figure it out. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, no, absolutely. I concur 100%. Thank you.
Yep.
So just to run through the application briefly, this is a built prior structure, built without started without benefit of a permit. Basically, my client was constructing a garage in the area where there was presently a driveway. There is no garage on the property, and the structure was placed in a location backing up to a neighbor to the west who has a garage also in that same corner of their property. So the impact on the character of the neighborhood is not substantial. Certainly, since it abuts another accessory structure to the west. There's certainly,
Can I interrupt you 1 second, sir?
Yeah, go right ahead.
From this aerial, it appears your client's structure is quite massive compared to the one.
It is larger, yeah, certainly it is. The dimensions of the garage are 26 feet wide by 28 feet. So typical garage sizes might be anywhere 22 by 22, 24 by 24. So we're not excessively beyond that. I referenced the other structure just to note that it's not having an impact on that neighbor because they already have an accessory structure up against the property line. So I just note that for reference as far as impact on the neighbors. They've also have constructed a roof over area, which is adjacent to their patio, to have a covered seating area for use in their yard. So that's those are the use of the structure. Due to the configuration of the property, as I was mentioning, there was no other place to put, place the garage. There was already an existing driveway there. Understood, correct. The house, as a reference to that note, is not a substantial footprint. In character with the neighborhood, the house has a relatively small footprint, as was mentioned, approximately 693 square feet. You can see many of the other homes in the neighborhood have larger footprints. So, that's just a matter of fact that the house itself has a small footprint. So that's where that request comes from. Probably the average size of the homes in the neighborhood probably have footprints anywhere 1,000 or so to 1,200 square feet. So it's just by virtue of the fact that we have a small footprint that request falls in line here. Generally, there are a handful of structures in the neighborhood as far as houses, detached garage or houses that have detached garages. There was a garage, which I believe was before this board, at 540 Milligan, which is one block over to the west. Doesn't have similar rear yard setbacks, but similar side yard setbacks. And it just looks, I think it's just north of the church. There's a church the next block over, and I think it's 540. So if you pan a little bit north, just a couple of lots, you'll see that house. And similar, tighter side yards, but it appears that it's held the 10-foot setback in the rear.
I think the big issue, sir, is
yeah.
the size of the structure compared to the ground floor area of the dwelling.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get around that.
That's the issue.
Well, I'll say this. My client had purchased the house with the intent of placing an addition onto the side of the house. He has a growing family, and certainly that's something that is part of his intent. The lot is somewhat unique. The house is, as I said, a small footprint, so I would hope that that's a mitigating factor for this, and that in comparison to other size detached garages, 2-car garages, we're not substantially over. It's not a 30 by 30. It's 26 by 28. We're 2 to 4 feet beyond what might be an average size. So I don't think that we're substantially over 2-car garage sizes in here. So relative to the house, again, my client purchased it so that in the future he could do an addition to the south of the house and increase the size. So if that becomes a factor in your decision also, but primarily it's a small footprint of a house that's located in the central portion of the property. So anything that gets added on this, whether this, they didn't really have too many options as far as attached or detached, because there's a cellar entrance that's presently on the north side of the house along the driveway. So they didn't have too many options. So, I don't know if something would have gone somewhere else or, in phases over time. I think the end result would be the same what you're seeing here today.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
Deidre, any precedent for the side and rear yard setbacks for the detached structure in the area? None at all? Anything close? Nothing at all? All right.
Yeah.
So, sir, would you want to take an adjournment with your clients and speak to them regarding the size of the?
Well,
It's just in my opinion, in my expertise, and
Yeah.
I've not been here as long as some of these guys have been on, and ladies.
Yeah, me too.
Well, maybe not the expertise that you all have, but I'm thinking that possibly you want to take an adjournment and speak to your client regarding.
I will
The real issue.
certainly take an adjournment to speak with them, because this is an existing structure. It's already built. Yeah, so that's why I would gladly accept the adjournment to confer with my client further on this and see if there's other options for them. So I appreciate that. So,
All right, so we'll, how long when's the next adjournment date? How long do you need?
About 30 days. It's already existing.
yeah, 30 days would be acceptable, and for us to come back with additional information.
All right, so
We're not really sure of our dates.
we're not really sure of our date yet.
That's
We'll
okay.
give you the 30.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
new
fine.
year,
Yeah,
so
it was 30 to 45
craziest
or whatever
one.
the next available hearings fall in.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? I'll make a motion to adjourn this application for approximately 30 days.
Okay.
All in
Thank
favor?
you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you, you too. Next application, number 20 of 2022, George Pratt, permission to leave accessory structure, currently a second dwelling, having a side yard of 3.7 feet instead of the required 10 feet, and front yard of 40 feet instead of required material highway setback of 60 feet. Entrance platform having front yard 37 feet, in-ground pool having front yard 14.9 feet, pergola on deck having front yard of 40 feet instead of arterial highway setback of 60 feet each, and to leave fence having a front yard of 3.3 feet instead of required 10 feet. It's in the Street District, northeast corner of Ocean Avenue, number 2723, and Express Drive North, Ronkonkoma, New York. Sorry, your name and address for the record, please.
George Prague, 2723 Ocean Avenue, Ronkonkoma.
How are you tonight?
Very good.
Would you like to state your case, or?
Everything that they're talking about, like the fence, the pool, that's been there for like 20 years. The pergola's probably been there about 15 years now.
So you have an accessory structure that's currently a second dwelling, they're stating on the call.
Yes, it was a two-car garage, double deep, and I turned that into an apartment for my daughter and my grandchildren.
Is it permitted?
No, it's not.
So you're gonna return it to a legal state?
Yes.
When?
I here tonight to find out what would have to be done with that.
How much time would you need to return it to a legal state?
So,
Ma'am, I'm sorry. Step up if you want to talk. It's fine. Just give us your name and address.
she's my wife.
Yeah, we don't want to do something we think is helping you and it winds up hurting.
Just watch the course, please.
Get it permitted.
Just your name and
Take it
address.
down.
for the
Carol
record.
Prague, 2723 Ocean Avenue, Ronkonkoma.
And are you living in that second dwelling?
No. I live in
You live with him?
Maine, yes.
I have my daughter and my two grandkids
She
living
looked
out
young
there.
enough to be your daughter.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I don't know if I have to apply for, like, to get that permitted, if it's legal to,
Have
you
you
know.
met with anyone in planning or the building department yet about any of this? Have
No.
you- I'm not telling you what to do. I
We
can't do
applied
that.
for permits. She told us we had to get the variance first.
Okay, but the chairman has some information for you.
Okay.
You may find help.
Do you want to take an adjournment so you can go and speak to people and say, we can't tell you what to do? They can say, well, if you do this, I don't know if it's all going to work, then we can get here. We
Well,
can't tell you that.
When I
So
spoke to someone in the building department about the permits for the other stuff, she said that they're not permitting detached garage apartments. So I was on the assumption that I'm gonna have to get rid of that.
right.
Okay.
There's a lot of other stuff here that.
A lot of
maybe
other
will
stuff.
Give you some insight on.
I really
Okay.
think maybe if possibly you can meet with Deirdre in planning, if we give you an adjournment or call her and she can lead you in the right direction.
Okay,
We don't want to hurt you more than unless maybe you have a better plan to go forward and you can come back here with a better plan. It seems,
The best course of action for you would be, you come to us with a plan for what you want to do, and we say yes or no.
Okay.
right.
Rather
I
than.
mean, if I can
you
get
come
it,
to us with everything and we say,
Yeah.
like, we can't tell you what to do.
Right now, this
Come
is-
to us with a plan.
yeah, this
right,
is
I
a
mean, if
mess
I can
right
get
now.
it
Look-
permitted where she can stay there, then I would like to go that route. But if it's.
Excuse me?
I said, if I could get it permitted to where my daughter and my grandkids could stay there, I would like to go that route. But if they're not, issuing permits for that, then I know I have to get rid of it.
Just listen.
Possibly you could speak to someone in
Yes.
planning and give them your objective,
Okay,
and they could tell you exactly, if at all possible, it can happen, before we sit here and to take it apart. Because we look at this right now and say, well, this is no good, this is no good, this is no good, this is good.
right.
And we don't want to do that to you.
Okay.
So come back we'll give you an adjournment as long as you need. Like you said, it's at least 30 days right now. You can talk to them and see what's going on and see a good plan B.
Thank
Is that
you very
okay with
much.
you guys, if you want?
That's very good. Thank you.
Sure? All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? I'll make a motion to adjourn for at least 30 days. We don't have our schedule yet, so I say that. But contact planning department. I don't know if Deirdre has a card or anything or some number that you can give. Yeah, maybe she can give you a card. You can contact over there and they can lead you in the right direction to find out exactly what you may be able to do or may not be able to do.
Thank you so
And come
much.
back a little bit better off.
Thank you.
All right, 1 second. Deirdre's going to, I'll take a second on the adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you very much. Next application, number 21 of 2022. Dennis J. DeVivo, permission to erect two-story addition 20 feet by 25.5 feet, leaving rear yard 25.9 feet instead of the required 35 feet. GST District, southeast corner of Union Boulevard, number 718 Pat Drive, West Islip, New York. Mr. O'Connell, welcome. Happy New Year. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. James Zapka from Todd O'Connell Architects, 1200 Veterans Highway, Hopog, New York, 11788, representing. We kind of look alike. That's okay. I'll take it. Okay, representing Mr. Dennis DeVivo. The application in front of you tonight is to construct a proposed two-story addition, approximately 20 by 25.5 feet, for the purpose of expanding a current multi-use office building located in a GST zone district. The addition that we're looking to construct is seeking relief from the required 35-foot rear yard to be reduced to 25.9 feet. The existing dwelling currently stands at 22.3 feet off that southern property line. This application has already been in front of the planning board with approval and town board for approval of modification of covenants. And we look to have a favorable decision on this application. If it's any consolation as part of the planning, we will be installing a tree buffer line on the southern property, which would be the only abutting neighboring property to this.
Page from planning, any objection? No objection. You guys good? Yep. Pat Drive is going to.
Yeah, this is almost like a standalone property. It's the tracks to the north and the state property to the east there. So he actually only has one neighbor.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant.
All in favor? Application granted.
Mr. O'Connell, since we have you, we'll call your next app.
Actually, my esteemed colleague is going to be doing that case.
Oh, okay.
So you get to
Thank you,
enjoy
Mr.
his
O'Connell.
favorable, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Zapka. Have a good night. Next application number 22 of 2022, Derek Singh and Glenna Harrington Singh. Permission to erect detached garage 20 by 30 feet, leaving 9.08 feet behind the front line of dwelling instead of required 20 feet. Residence double A district, north side of 434, 522.75 feet west of Locust Avenue, Bohemia. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
So-
You're not Mr. O'Connell.
No, so I am Nicholas Capucci, Cappucci. I work at 1200 Veterans Highway, Suite 120, Hopog, New York, with Mr. Todd O'Connell and James Zapka. I'm here today with Mr. Singh, that's the property owner right there, Mr. Derek Singh. So we are here just to erect a detached garage, 600 square foot detached garage. We are in compliance with everything on the code, just with the front dwelling not being 20-foot setback. So we are
Let me ask
actually,
you something. Is there any way you could comply even?
the way the house is formed, no, not really. It's tough. Just to put this double-sized garage in there. I do want to submit, I do have letters from each of the neighbors. One, the direct neighbor from the left is also signed it and is in favor of. Another letter's across the street and another letter's a couple of houses down. So the neighborhood knows what's going on. They're in favor of this project. We want to take the detached garage and make it look like an example of the house. So the same materials will be used. And I just want to make a correction. I don't know if you said it, but we are asking for 8.08 feet, not the 9.08 feet that is on the letter that went out. I did speak to Joanne in the beginning of the week, and she did make a note, or I guess mention it to you guys, that it was going to be 8.08. It was a denial letter that was 8.08. So somewhere from Teresa giving the board the denial letter and them writing the letter
That's not how it gets
came
to
out
us. Somebody brings it to us.
from the
applicant.
planning board,
The applicant.
From the building department.
from the building department.
To
I know
us.
the denial letter says 8.08.
Right, but somebody picks it up and brings it to us.
Correct.
Who was that?
That was, we brought that to you with the denial letter at 8.08. So when you guys made the letter to mail out,
Yeah.
it said 9.08. So somewhere in that transition, that was lost. If you mailed out the original denial letter, everyone would have got 8.08.
Okay, thank you. Problem is that we advertised it at 9.08 feet, and
Correct.
if you wanted less relief, it would be a problem. If you want more relief than what's advertised, then that's, we'll defer to our council.
But that should that be
Correct.
their problem though, when we,
That we give them a new hearing, we waive any additional fee. I mean, what else are we gonna do?
but with this lot and this, what does it impact?
The bottom line is
That's not the point.
we'd be granting more than we, or deciding.
How many
rather.
times do we tell people you can't do that?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up to you guys'
Well,
attention
we
too.
appreciate your candor. Anyway,
What does our trustee council over there say? Handsome haircut
you
man that
sure
he
you
is.
wanna ask that question?
He's the expert. I'm just John.
So you're proposing to hold a conforming rear yard of 10 feet, right?
We are conforming with that, correct?
Right.
We don't want to take up any other space. Now, we would be in conformance too, as if we ran the corner line kind of horizontal to the street. I'll be 23 feet back from that. But
Sure.
if I have to follow the line of the house and the way the
No,
house is angled,
We understand. We're just
Yeah.
saying, the question was, you're gonna hold the rear line in.
yeah, we're holding, I'm in compliance with everything else, FAR, rear line, side yards. Well, could we adjourn it and approve with a stipulation after another mailing goes out? And we don't actually have to appear back here?
I don't-
That could be. Let's see. Might be okay.
Show. So the code says the closest point between the house and the street property line.
Right.
So we have. It runs parallel.
And then we give him his knife.
Well, fine, they took it all the way down here.
So you see, because of Ms. Sarah's genius, it looks like you're okay.
And
She's amazing.
She is the smartest one on this board. Let
Especially
the record.
I
especially when
agree.
our office makes mistakes.
I agree.
Everyone's human.
No mistakes, just solutions.
It's the newspaper.
Yeah. So we okay with that? Because
So-
of the,
I'm good. Mr.
can we
Chairman.
put it on the record?
So the building department made an interpretation, I guess, maybe by your drawing, that the front line of the dwelling ran from the corner of the property. I don't even know. They ran it out parallel from the front of the house. But I'm sure that in the past, the town has interpreted the front yard as following the curvilinear line that is the street. Oh, James is nodding his head, correct? So why'd you draw it this way, James? So it should have been a 40-foot offset following the curvilinear line. I
And
swear I've
then-
seen it before.
And then a 20-foot offset from that curved line.
Correct.
Okay, so we think you're okay on the.
Deirdre, do you see what I'm saying?
Well, when I spoke to Teresa about it, they actually said it was the front line of the building. That's why I had to follow that angled line.
I don't see why you'd have to follow that line.
Okay.
The code says between the front line of the dwelling and the street property line.
Well, it's the building code's all with interpretation, so I like your interpretation.
Whether it's 8 or 9, it doesn't matter because we believe it to be 9 or better.
Yeah.
So call it what you will. We're approving, we're not approving your plan as submitted.
So does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
So the decision will note that in the board's opinion, the 40-foot offset from the curvilinear property line would be the front line from which you would measure the 20 feet.
Okay.
Good?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Have a great night, guys.
I'll change it on the drawings just to show
I
it
think
too.
that's a good idea.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 accessory apartments to be renewed and or transferred. Motion by Mr. Nicoli, second by me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We we have any other business, Mr. Sarah?
I just had second call, but she didn't.
Oh,
show
we
up.
have one second call. Julietta Duenas, is there anyone here on that? There is no one here. We'll.
Did you do that already?
Yes, I did.
Yelling
We just
Chuck.
did it.
I was yelling at Chuck.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.